Well, as we all fall in, everybody, welcome to Sync. No, that was really bad. I'm Andreas, and this is Wednesday Ultra. That's the day of the week it is. It's a pretty crazy day because we have both Pink Trip, Alex Stein in the house tonight. And what's your name of your cat again? I always forget.
Sky
This
Bear.
is Angus. Sky Bear is the #1 ranked cat. This is actually the number 4 based cat because he has a lot of attitude problems. I mean, he's actually very sweet, and I have full control over him, but he's just very needy. He's very picky. He only likes wet food. He's got accustomed to the finer things in the cat life, and he's never had to rough it like these other cats. I got them late. Every cat I got pre-owned except for this one. I got him brand new, and he's just the youngest is the most spoiled. So look at this full control. Look at this control. A lot of people don't have this much control of a cat.
Right.
I got full control. I mean, 100% control. I can do anything.
120.
I don't have to. No risk of any sort of. Look at this. I've pure domination.
Real like indoor cat, nearsighted kind of. Nobody
has this sort of control. Look at this.
Little fight back.
Look at this. Look at this cat. Nobody has this.
Yo, muffin cupcake kick right there on the screen.
Do a synchronized routine at the Pet Olympics. That's amazing.
And look at all the cat hair on my jacket.
Let me try to is it easy to reorganize this? Whoa, you can just throw things around.
Oh, I go all the way on the bottom right corner. I see how
I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do.
I go shotgun. I go shotgun.
Nicest spot. He's the one that has. I really love his content's probably the most popular of everybody.
I hope it doesn't smell bad down there. I just thought that it was like good foundational. Now I feel bad. Maybe I belong in the. You know what? I'd say.
Can you do the show without you being in it?
No, you guys just do the show without me.
No.
We could just let Alex Stein rant for like 2 hours. We'll be great.
There's a couple of things I really want to cover, though. It's like, let's get to that first. Let's see.
By the way, Mark and me are here, too. You always stop halfway through.
Did I not say my family thinks I'm crazy? Seth and Mark?
All right. I'm just joking, bro.
I don't think it's a personal thing. I think it's literally an ADHD kind of thing. Okay. But there's a couple horrible things that have happened. Actually, you know what? You're right. You're right when you're right. You're right. Let me focus on you guys first. How are you? You know what I mean? How do you guys feel? What's going on? Yeah, you look like a little stressed out. Like you've been under the lamb of the law for a little while.
I just found this new look today. This is how I'm gonna dress. Like
you're like a bounty hunter going after like gnomes or something. You're like
that's all I gotta say.
Kind of a
pussy.
Van Helsing.
You're like you're policing Midgard.
Dude,
I'm doing good. I put out an anti-Big Pharma song, and it debuted at #4 on iTunes, and I'm still alive, and I'm still on the internet. So far things are doing good.
That's what I was hoping to hear about. So this just came out, guys. You guys need to check this out. Pushing Poison. It's available now, right? It's out now.
Oh yeah, it's out now. Yeah.
It said pre-order, but you can get it and you can listen to it.
Well, that is the pre-order page that you're navigating to. I need to update my link tree. Is what I need.
But y'all be careful because this song, it's one of those Fauci ouchie moments for the world. So it's pretty good. And then Pink Trip, yeah, you might get in trouble for thinking your own thoughts. Pink Trip, you just had a good video that came out as well. I saw Tim Pool thinks his guests are stupid.
I
have
15,000 views.
I try to talk about that.
I try my very best not to think about that. You know what I mean? But
if love to talk about that.
If you do you want to? Like, I'll let you if you really need to. I don't know.
Talk about
Should we go in?
Joe, we should talk about other people's podcasts. We shouldn't do it.
Well, no, I would like to ask Pink Trip, how do you do that? How do you edit it? So, like, you find like the phrases you want them to say because you have to watch the podcast 2 or 3 times, or do you watch it and then you just how do you edit? What's the editing process? Because it's hard to remember the lines that they said to make it sound coherent. Right? It sounds like a conversation.
That's why they take like 2 weeks to do because it just takes so much compiling of lines, and then once you've compiled the lines and all the shit you want to work with, then it's like kind of building the story with that,
So that's what you do. You kind of clip all the lines, the words that you think you may use, but then you have to rewatch that clip because you have to remember. What did I say?
So much watching. I can fucking hear Joe Rogan in my sleep. Because I've learned how to edit. Obviously, I'm not as close to an editor like you, but people don't realize how big of a skill that is. And it's like, I guess you use it for good, but man, a lot of people worry about their job. If they can just learn how to do simple editing, they can find a job for the rest of their lives. Yeah. See, the difference between me and 60 Minutes is the shit that ends up on the cutting room floor is the thing that's actually more watched. You know what I mean?
True.
60 Minutes and all those other cocksuckers, everything that ends up on the cutting room floor, you never know.
Yeah, and that's the interesting stuff.
But it's also, it's a great kind of gig because so many people have to do this. You're an unsung hero in the industry. People that take really terrible productions and then turn them into watchable trailers. That's like literally America for the last 100 years. There's like so many, and you can tell because the trailers are the best part because you're like, oh, and when you see the movie, you're like, oh, everything good in the movie was in that trailer. Well, it had to be because there wasn't much of a movie there.
It's always way more easier to make something interesting with 2 minutes than with 2 hours. So there's always that advantage.
It depends. I think Saw, you can't do 30 of them, but the 20-minute version of Saw was okay, and the 90-minute version of Saw was even more okay. I can't
get through any movies these days. I can't fucking stand movies.
I like the idea of 2-minute movies. I'm gonna trademark that right when this is over.
Oh, that exists for sure. Yeah, I mean, in the old days, 8mm was always like 5 to 10 minute.
That's funny you said that because that's literally how I think of my videos. Like,
yeah.
Can I ask a question, Xirtus?
No, you cannot, Mark. Shut the fuck up.
Did you guys all take muscle relaxer before this? Like, this is the most chill start to Wednesday Ultra I've ever experienced. Alex Stein is here. Dude. This guy dresses up in rat costumes and shouts at City.
Oh, that was so awesome. Dude, the guy trying to pronounce your name like it was a real name was the greatest thing of all time. He's like, Mr. Thurrit? I'm sorry. And then you come up and he's like, oh, gosh.
Yeah. He immediately, when he saw me, he said, oh, gosh, he did not like it. Yeah, no, but it's like this gimmick. I got to constantly reinvent myself. But one thing that I found is, man, this Ronnie Thurrat or the Rat guy, people are loving him. I've never had a character or person. Even Alexandria Stein was universally loved by the conservatives, by the liberals. Everybody likes when I put on the women's bathing suit, which is kind of like buck breaking myself. But I'm telling you, Ronnie the Rat, people want more Ronnie the Rat content. So I think my next plan now is I'm going to Orlando at the end of October. I think I'm going to wear it to Disney and go after Mickey Mouse to see who the top rat is.
That's only.
Yeah.
What do you think you are coming onto my turf there, Ronnie? You better get lost, Ronnie.
That's the next battle, Mickey versus Ronnie, and it's just gonna be. And imagine me getting escorted out of Disneyland as Ronnie the Rat. I mean, that's good. That's 200,000 views, guaranteed.
What do you think is gonna happen when public domain Mickey happens? Can you just dress up as Mickey Mouse? I mean, I guess you kind of already.
Isn't public domain Mickey Mouse about to happen? Isn't it literally gonna happen like at the end of the year or something?
It should be this year or 20. What did they say? Like public domain Mickey Mouse will happen.
They're gonna actually allow that to happen.
Yeah, 2022, 2023.
Ago, right?
Well, this is. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the full Mickey. It's only going to be like this Mickey. It's like the Steamboat Willie Mickey. But the one with pupils, this is from post Fantasia. And so they can keep that for another 10 or 15 years.
Wait, show me. So you're telling me the creepy communist Mickey, that's the one that'll be free? That's
yeah. But I'm for it. I mean, we could have Mickey on the show. That'll be okay.
They want to get rid of that one because all the racist Mickey cartoons are in that version of Mickey, right? So have you guys seen any of those? Like, there's a couple of them. They're like, racist in context in the time.
I mean, it's literally a black mouse wearing whiteface. Like, it is what it is, And most of the cartoons at the time were super racist because they were about black characters. You can think of Bugs Bunny was Brer Rabbit, right? And Brer Rabbit started out and became further and further into a New Yorkish Mel Blanc character from the North, but had started out as straight up, Song of the South. Daffy Duck is clearly black, right? I mean, are we okay with that? Can we admit it? There's
I never saw his color, to be honest. I didn't even know.
I mean, it wasn't
I really noticed that he was totally black either. Now that does make sense, and he does kind of have the swag of a black guy. Like he's got a lot of swag.
It wasn't a big deal because it's kind of like Fine Young Cannibals. Like technically today you have these Afro punk magazines, and they talk about early persons of color musicians, blah blah blah. It's like, dude, nobody cared what color you were. It was all about what kind of music you were making. And then you have to go back and like, oh yeah, technically, if I tried to judge this person other than by their music, I could judge them by their skin color.
Race was so far out of the zeitgeist in the 80s and the 90s that we literally had a #1 children's show with a main character named White Power Ranger, and nobody noticed.
Really? Was there a White Power Ranger?
The Green Power Rangers. There was a White Power Ranger, a Black Power Ranger. Nobody even noticed. No comedian made a joke about it. It was like literally just out of sight, out of mind.
I do think we were way less racist in the 90s than we are now.
When Stefan says, I bet Stein could scarf a stray cat? I thought you meant like wear him as a scarf.
I can. Here, let me get one. Let me find it.
Okay, good. I thought he meant like scarf him down. Like, don't eat a cat. Like, not even for.
That's Alf, unless you're Alf.
Yeah, Alf can eat
like
cats.
talking about
It
eating.
means they're like this.
That's Alf's.
Like
That's
this is-
Alf's culture.
Oh! I just
Come on.
screwed that up.
We
It was
just missed
there.
it. I have toxoplasmosis. It's very easy for me. I have full control over these cats. They listen to me. They follow my, they actually also are Scientologists as well. They all follow the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard as well. So
Yeah,
that's how I know that they're really.
You ever see that movie, The Cat from Outer Space? Right? Creepy.
No, I
movie.
never saw this one.
Aren't you?
Wow, I need to watch this.
Aren't you
great.
Siegfried and Royd's nephew, Alex? That's how you get these cat powers. You're related to the great tiger tamers.
I am, honestly. Yeah, I do have a little Tiger King in me. But to be honest, there is truth in the movies, lies in the news. I feel like my cats, they do feel like aliens sometimes. I know that sounds very weird, but there's something about them that is just not, it's like they know that they're better than us humans and that they just use us. And dogs don't have that same mental capacity. And I have a dog. I love dogs. It's just different. They have a very dogs are like your man's best friend no matter what. Cats act like you're doing them a favor by taking care of them.
Just waiting to eat you. Just waiting a really long.
And if my cats ate me when I died, that would be cool. I'd rather than be cremated. I mean, if Sky Bear was, if I died, I'd be worried about who's going to take care of him. But if I could feed him one last time, go ahead, eat my penis.
Why let the meat go to waste?
That's really honorable.
I think that movie Cats versus Dogs has the same plot where the cats are actually aliens and the dogs are like immortal defenders of humanity, and the cats are. You guys ever seen that movie Cats versus Dogs?
Oh yeah,
No,
the
but it sounds
Egyptians. Right,
The
cats are
like
evil.
aliens. They come out of a spaceship and they're trying to fight the dogs, but the dogs are guarding humanity. It's kind of interesting considering Osiris and the Dog Star and Sirius Dog Star.
Yeah, that movie is actually Cat versus Dogs movie was you've got in Secret Order of Canaanites, right? The Order of Cain, and then they have these secret, and then the cats are part of the Bastet thing. Let's do Egyptian Bastet. You can see their idea. And they show all these pictures of how they used to worship cats because cats were the masters, and the dogs eventually helped free the man. And they've been living secretly ever since. And it's their secret order that the families aren't supposed to know. Kind of like across. Oh yeah, and that's the truth about cats and dogs. I think it's a different one, right? I don't know. Wait, but this is
I
serious
agree with
thing.
that though. I agree with the Egyptians. I mean, we can't recreate the pyramids today. People try to act like we can. We literally can't. So something is going on, and you talk about it all the time. We talk about ancient technology. I mean, dude, they have buildings in New York City that were built in the 20s and 30s where a gargoyle will get chipped off, and they can't find a craftsman that can recreate the concrete like that. So we can't even do, not that that's simple, but we can't even do quote unquote simple, artistic stuff with concrete. Imagine, the complex secret geometry and secret, architecture that they use.
I'm sure if somebody was willing to put enough money up there, somebody would figure it out.
I'm sure. Well, I don't know about the pyramid, but I'm sure somebody can make a gargoyle or something, again on the corner. But it's just not easy. And all the old buildings, they had them every corner. They had ornate stuff. I mean, we're in this postmodernism architecture that's just literal crap. The new Rangers Stadium they built here for the Texas Rangers, it literally looks like a huge Costco. It's just universally, people make fun of it. And the stadium that was built in 1998 that they had to build a new one because it was too hot because it doesn't have a roof. It's beautiful. So it wasn't that long ago that we used to make beautiful things, and we've stopped that. Everything is just cookie cutter, as cheap quality, no architecture, no design, and that's kind of symbolic of where our society is going when it comes to art.
Think about the people who could do that kind of art, dude. They were learning from their father or from some master craftsman from a super early age. They weren't going to school learning all this stupid shit that they're teaching them in schools. You know what I mean? People actually dedicated their whole lives to just one.
I'll tell you what, I was just working with a guy who gives me odd jobs here and there. He's a mason, stone mason, not a Freemason. And we were tearing apart the tiles in this bathroom for a renovation. And he was like, dude, check this out. No black mold, right? And the newspapers that were inside of the two walls were all from the 1960s. So they built this in the 60s, and there was no black mold at all, which, according to my friend who's very experienced, is very rare. And he said it's because there's so much lime in it that it kept it that way. And there's something about limestone. I don't think that they use these materials, probably because they've diverted the resources towards other things like building the technological infrastructure, the VR, all that stuff. But I think in the past, the idea was we have this new nation. Let's make it permanent, like all of our stately buildings, our Capitol buildings, they're made out of like intensely strong stones, not just run-of-the-mill stones. Like they picked the pick of the litter from all the quarries and got the best stones for those structures. So I think that's why, Alex, to your point, they don't make them like they used to, because their work is done. They created their society, the magical working of crafting this society out of stone.
Well, you also have mass manufacturing.
Do you guys ever see Jago? Have you guys heard of
Sure.
this guy? Jago, the self-taught sculptor. You want to be Michelangelo? This dude here, he like didn't know how to sculpt, lived in Italy, looked at a bunch of sculptors, thought it was a good idea, got really into it. Now he does like crazy realistic sculptures that look like, maybe even better than the way they used to look, but he's doing it all by hand with traditional techniques. See if I can like the skin wrinkles and things like that, like bringing it back. So this can be done and people can do it, but it's a skill that's basically destroyed. And then I think Alex, you brought up the point on Fortune today, or maybe it was a couple days ago. No, this was actually earlier this year. U.S. companies post their biggest profit growth in decades by jacking up prices during the pandemic. And it showed how, I hate when they do this. Let me see if I can block scripts. There we go. A U.S. company posted profit record 2021. You'd think there'd be no money, right? Because no one's buying anything or something. They're buying what they have to buy still. So it's the highest prices it's ever been. They don't have to pay as many people. People are staying home. They can get rid of all this stuff. They can take all these loans. And so actually the biggest profits ever made, I think, maybe proportionally since 1976 when they had the international Banana Republic money. This is the biggest.
When you don't have to compete, Andreas. Like, you don't have to compete anymore. I mean,
Darth Sidious, there's just no more reasons to make cool robots. All the robots are lame now because there's who's buying the cool ones, right?
Yeah.
We don't need
It's
gold
like we're
robots.
ruled by utilitarians now, so it's sort of like everything, including art and architecture, has become very pragmatic, where it's not artistic at all. It's just like I'm from New York City, so it's totally weird when you're in Central Park and you look at like Central Park South and you see like these like Gothic masterpieces, and then you see like the kind of mid-century stuff like the Ghostbusters building. Then you see these modern banks that are just all glass, mirror, and steel. You know what I mean? You can just see through the ages how like all the art has been drained out of it, and everything is just very utilitarian, and it's just there to serve its purpose.
Yeah, like what do you think about that?
Built by master craftsmen, and then like World War II happened, and then we started mass producing everything, which allowed us to win World War II, but it destroyed the like master craftsman who was taught how to do it a certain way, and it was art to him. And it became just mass producing everything. So everything looks the same. Everything's fucking cookie cutter.
That's true. That's where we got our kind of modern food conundrum from too, is during World War II. We started making that bromelated white bread because it was all we had. We only had access to crap flour and stuff like that. So they started doing vitamin enriched bread and having to bleach the flour because it was crap dirt flour. And so you're right. Maybe it's just not a good idea. I'm sure after World War III, though, things will flip back around and be better. We just need one more. Stop too early. You got to have the trilogy. You got to have all three wars.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think we've devolved though when it comes to creativity. I mean, we just cannot create the same stuff that we used to. And we talk about that too. It's like we talk about Tartaria, and it's like I was in DC. And I was at the Capitol. I took an official Capitol tour. And before you go on the tour, they make you watch this like 11-minute video. And at the beginning of the video, they're like, everything was, these were farm grounds where you're at right now. And everything was built by slaves in 1811. This building was built by slaves. Like really trying to give you kind of that CRT, like, not that we shouldn't give credit to the slaves, but you're like, oh, wow, this ornate building. Then like the British came in 1813 and burned it all down. And then the slaves were able to rebuild it. But my point being is like these beautiful buildings, and you walk around, you're kind of like, when you have that context, you're like, man, these buildings were all built by slaves. And then it kind of made me think, it's like, now we're like the new slaves. Like we can't build this building, but because we consume, because we can get credit cards, because we can it's a different sort of slavery.
It was terrible,
and
it's
kind of a weird vibe.
A very ancient form of employment. It's really everybody was a slave. Like if you were a poor dude back in the day, now not take race out of the equation, and you're struggling to get food every fucking day, which a lot of people were back in the day, and I'm talking, a long time ago. Yeah, you're gonna fucking become somebody's slave. You're gonna find a master who's gonna give you a job and a fucking barn to sleep in and some food every day, and that's ancient employment, and everybody took part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the, let me see if I can find the rights and restrictions of Islam in terms of slavery is very interesting, because it talks a lot about the requirements of a owner, what they have to do for the slave. So, for instance, if we get too old to work, you still have to take care of the slave, like a retirement plan, and the kids of the slave. They're not slaves, but you can let them work a bit, but by the time they're 20, they're free, but you still have to take care of them as well. So a lot of this had to do with the rules an employer would have to take on in the responsibilities in order to have a servant that it's a mutual relationship. And that's definitely not the way we think of slavery today, but manumission and abolition. I mean, that's obviously how the United States was built. It was not just built on slavery, it's built on indentured servitude. People trading years of life for work.
And basically, we're already doing that when you talk about how they'll give any 18-year-old kid a college loan for $100,000, and then you spend your whole life paying off that loan. We're all debt slaves. And I'm not trying to, make light of actual, what the slaves went through going from the slave ships. But that's the other thing when somebody's talking about slave history. It was Africans that sold the slaves originally. I mean, they sold them to people of other religions.
Slavery
I don't want to say.
Is a sin of humanity. It's not a sin of one race or the other.
Yeah, isn't it funny though, Alex, that you can say that, but you can't say the second part? And what that does, it changes exactly everything about what we're trying to say. But it is what it is. There was something also here probably worth getting into. Speaking of people that
before we leave that topic.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So, in New England, we have these stone rows everywhere, right? And they're like basically fences, not really good as fences. They're very short. So, when people ask about these, the traditional answer is like, oh, the colonists slaved the Indians to build them, right? And what I've started to learn as I've been researching this more and more is that a big majority, not all of them, but a great majority of these stone rows existed before the colonists settled, because a lot of the Native Americans here were practicing pretty advanced agricultural techniques, one of which involved using these stone rows for a certain function that's been sort of lost to farming now. But Tara and I, my girlfriend, we just found a glacial erratic today, which is another piece of evidence that there were ancient cultures here in New England that had advanced stone shaping techniques. What we found was an amazing 20-ton boulder on top of another boulder, and it had either been shaped that way or moved into this position. I mean, to look at this thing and suggest that, oh, it just got pushed here by some ice a long time ago, it's just sort of unfounded when you consider all of the others. But this one, as far as we know, hasn't been discovered yet. So I'm pretty excited because we discovered it today. And it looks like a duck. You could also say it looks like the Big Dipper, but it's this huge boulder. I'll share a picture once I pull it up. But
yeah, I mean, if you need a second to find it.
Well, and the reason I say that is because they use that. I should make my point. The whole idea of, oh, well, the slaves built it. To your point, Alex, like that's sort of a myth. It is true, but it's been mythicized and applied to more examples than necessary. So while it is true there were slaves that built things, you can't just go and say everything that was built before a certain time period was built by slaves. And it's just not a satisfying explanation. But anyways, these New England stone structures are sort of unique and peculiar, but they relate to stone structures in Europe, which suggests maybe a pre-Columbian trading network, some Europeans that would come over here in North America pre-Columbus, maybe even in ancient times. But yeah, I don't mean to take us too far off the track.
No, if you find the picture, though, actually, that's good because it'll help me pivot. I'm not going to go to the article I was just going to go to. I'll go to this one instead. This ship was lost to the ocean for 200 years. Here's what scientists found. 1812 HMS Terror's final voyage. Then the other day, there was the 120-year-old shipwreck discovered in Lake Superior. This guy. There's a bunch of these old boats that they're finding all of a sudden, and they're supposed to be from about 120 years ago, except they're all in these specific locations, and these crazy pictures of them show them looking like pretty out of place even at the time, like they're almost futuristic for 100 years ago. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So the Kensington runestone is in Minnesota. There's a number of runestones like this along the way through the Hudson.
In the Michigan relics too. There's a whole bunch.
Right next to me is a city called Rockwall, where they found a huge rock wall just under the ground. It looked like it would have been a huge wall for some sort of huge fort. That's like right down the street. They don't even know how long ago that was from.
So that style of rock wall in Texas, that's exactly the same culture, or at least a similar culture to what we have here in New England, where they would build these rock walls as pathways through certain places for boundaries, and even for certain ritual and spiritual purposes.
I mean, I hate to rain on anybody's parade, but didn't they like technically debunk that rock wall, that it was just a natural formation? Technically,
no.
They say everything's a natural formation. Oh my God, naturally occurring wall.
Where's the hundreds of years of colonial racism and propaganda that wants to discount any type of advanced culture here in North America in order to justify a colonial political goal to keep, which really doesn't stand anymore, but they stole the land from people. So to suggest they were anything but savages is it goes against their propaganda that they've been cooking up for hundreds of years. So I would say, yes, it could have been a natural formation. But if you've ever been to New England, you see just the tremendous amount of rock walls, the size of the stones.
For context,
anomalous. Doesn't make sense.
Pink Trip, if you look at the number of cases for things that they say are natural, it'll kind of astound you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying that debunks like.
No, but I just think it's a good thing to explore. It'd be like exploring
a documentary on it, and they could have been bullshitting, but they were pretty convincing that it was. They had some good explanations, but I can't remember what they were.
But regardless, this is what I think. I think they came out with a camera in like 1812. I don't really, and obviously they can fake stuff since then, but I don't believe anything before the camera was invented, because you know what I'm saying. Literally, that's kind of what I use as like our. Anything else in the history books, they tell us a lot of stuff, changed in our history books. So it's like, I don't really trust so much anything.
What did they say the name Rockwall came from before they found the rock wall? Like, why did people think their town was named Rockwall? They had
because of the rock wall. That's why they named it that.
Yeah, so
when
they named it after that
discovered?
Yeah.
Oh, so I see. I thought it was just discovered.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. How could you suggest that that's a natural formation when we have evidence of cultures in North America creating
South America
and South America?
Don't forget how
the first guy to ever from the Western world to document what we're looking at here, Machu Picchu, was connected to the Rockefellers, the Smithsonian, the secret societies. He was a Yale graduate. His father was connected to a secret society called the Order of Cincinnati that routinely went out and extracted the resources from these mound sites, stole all the skeletons that we hear legends about, and hid them away in the Smithsonian. So I don't think we could trust any official, narrative when it comes to certain archaeological examples that don't fit into this narrative that they've been creating. This whole idea that the savages of North America.
Manifest Destiny makes it really easy to say there's nothing here and we can take it. And that was why I brought up the Oklo thing, because in the case of France taking over parts of Africa, they were able to say, hey, you know what? These guys, they didn't have anything going on before us, and so it's totally chill. And then they say, wait, actually, it looks like there's nuclear reactors here. And then they say, well, okay, sure. Yeah, no, yeah, there are. But those are natural nuclear reactors, and they don't know how to use them anymore. Or they never did, rather. You know what I mean? Because like
take a look at the picture I have shared here.
Okay.
Because the Oklo thing, I mean, that's crazy, and that's a very unique, extreme example. But these types of stones are all over the United States. So if you look from this far away angle, the stone is situated on a larger stone underneath it. And then this is me next to it. So it's pretty big. It's a very big stone. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you tell me that that's a natural shape of a stone. You tell me that that's pointing east by accident. Like, come on, or I'm sorry, it's pointing.
Talk about the Nephilim, Mark. Talk about the Nephilim.
So yeah, I mean, this to me seems like
That's what you get, Pink Trip. You get Nephilim. Well, you want that? That's what you wanted?
an example of ancient megalithic cultures here in the United States.
To be
Whether or
honest,
not we'd
I'd rather
ever
talk
prove
about
it.
Alex and Dan Crenshaw. That's I fucking
You like
love
Dan
that.
Crenshaw? Well, dude,
No, I don't like Dan Crenshaw at all.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, you like that I make fun of him.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you turned him in, you turned the big tough war hero guy into a fucking Karen.
You mean the guy from Saturday Night Live? The guy from Saturday Night Live. Let's be real.
Well, dude, I mean, it's just the fact that he's voted to kick off servicemen with the National Defense Authorization Act that aren't vaccinated, and then on top of that, people in the Army Reserves, and he's just
Isn't he kind of buddy with Liz Cheney too. I mean,
he said he loves her, and he says it was the most fair election ever, which it obviously was. But when it comes to Dan Crenshaw though too, it's like he's raised $12 million. I think he's like behind like Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell on the conservative side, one of the highest fundraisers. Dude, he's bought and sold by all these companies. And that's why it's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love her. I consider her perfect. And now that she's single, I want to date her. But my point being is that she doesn't take money from these big corporations. She's able to see the gay political optics that they'd always say, oh, Trump's pushing the vaccine for optics. Like, sure, whatever. But my point being is like, he knows the optics of taking all this money from these military industrial complex. He doesn't care because he's not America first. He cares about, globalism and anybody that lost their eye for a war with no weapons of mass destruction. And now you want to send more kids to die in a war? You're evil. And that's why Marjorie, she doesn't take any money from those big, and she could take more money. She's become incredibly powerful, and she doesn't take any money from any of those big donors.
You always know the ones that are bought and paid for because the entire fucking establishment attacks them. Everybody from every side and every angle.
And you also know the good ones because they have cute little synchronicities about them. For instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's MJT. That's the same as Magic the Gathering, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, good guys also don't usually debut on NBC properties. So just the fact that huge endorsement, right? Here's a guy you've never heard of. Oh, he's so good. We apologize to him. Here's Dan Crenshaw, everybody, like right there on NBC. It's like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, and dude, when I first called him out, Eye Patch McCain, he went to like Mediaite, all these like left wing rags before the second video was even posted of the reverse angle. He said, "Oh, I hit this girl. I didn't even touch her," but basically created some narrative that like I assaulted some women, which is provably false from the other angles. But I'm saying if he could just pick up and he can call CNN and all these left wing, it was CNN that went against me. Jim Acosta, all these people on the left wing are like, Dan Crenshaw doesn't deserve this. It's like, shut up. They want to call me MAGA, Proud Boy.
You revealed
it's just
so many bad
bullshit.
aspects of his character that I don't think any other way could have revealed it. You know what I mean? Like the way he responded, like showed the real Dan Crenshaw, the one that we probably never would have got to see other than a situation like that. So I salute you, dude.
Well, I appreciate that, but dude, if these like Eric Swalwell got in his face, he handled it right. He laughed, which that kind of made him seem guilty. But you don't really get involved with a troll. You don't like get in the mud with a pig like me. But Dan Crenshaw does because he's such an egomaniac, and that's the problem. Is if these politicians realize that that they don't need to have an ego, and if they were more down to earth, they'd be more liked. But they get into office and they're all the sycophants around them are just blowing smoke up their ass all day. When one constituent gets in their face, say, "Hey, you suck," either they shut down and don't say a word, or they like go AOC style and make 10 Instagram videos pretending to be the biggest sexual assault victim in the history of sexual assault. So it's crazy that Dan Crenshaw and AOC are super popular, but they are the easiest to make react.
You've seen what's going on in California on that level? There's the youth guy, your guide to the California controller election, right? Freudian slip, controlled election. The race for state controller rarely excites voters, but it might be the most interesting race in the November election because since the first time since 2006, a Republican candidate has a chance of winning a statewide political contest in California. This isn't as unusual as it sounds. There are big chunks of California where they're not hyper Democratic. I mean, they're Democrat. They're not Democrat Party affiliated. The Republicans have a good control of parts of Latin California and also of Asian California. And so here you've got Lonnie Chen, a Republican in the state where party registration favors Democrats by 2-1. Last time this happened, the votes just didn't get counted till the week later, in California. And so what do you expect to happen in California? Do you think there's ever a chance of, and this is maybe a bigger problem, but do you think voting can ever really fix anything at this point?
Yeah, but not like in one election cycle where you're just going to elect some hero that's going to solve all your problems. I mean, what we really need to do is bump up the percentage of a third party, probably the Libertarian Party, whether or not you think libertarianism is based or lame or whatever. But what we need is a third party that can put pressure on the Republicans from the right, because the Republicans are all neocons and all rhinos. We should reverse the term of rhino to make it like Rand Paul is the rhino, because he actually is a Republican in name only, and only put the R next to his name for the ballot purposes. And like Thomas Massey and Justin Amash, the rest of them, every single one of them are all Lindsey Graham, every single one of them. So, I mean, what we really need is a third party. We need to vote up the Libertarian Party or the Green Party, whatever you like. Somebody who can actually put pressure on the Democrats to represent their own ideals more, because they do have some decent ideals. They just don't represent them. And somebody who can put pressure on the Republicans from the right. You know what I mean? Like we want to keep our boys alive. We don't want to send them over to Afghanistan to die, and just basic stuff like that.
But it's like the
World War III. But real quick, yeah, I don't want to get, I'd like to get, dude, we're going into World War III. I mean, we're already doing the proxy war. I think they even admitted that it was a American submarine, American military device that blew up the bridge in Crimea. However you say it, right? Crimea. So it's like, dude, we're already in this proxy war. It's inevitable. They want to do World War III. And then you see all the selective service tweets talking about how even if it's your last son with your namesake, they still have to be drafted. It's like, why are they even? I don't know. Did you guys see that tweet?
Or even if you thought you're a woman, but you're technically maybe.
Yeah, even the trans. Now they're coming out with all this like draft stuff that they haven't brought up in years. It's like, man, they either want to scare us that there's going to be a draft.
Or there's you may identify as a woman, but we've already identified you as cannon fodder. So, that's
you're at least enough of a man for what we need you to do.
Yeah, we just need you to stand there and die, basically.
But I think that's also kind of interesting, because at one point they were saying trans can be in the military, and then they said trans believe that there's a problem where they're the different body than their mind is, and there's some sort of genetic or whatever the reason is. Therefore,
gender
they have
dysphoria.
Just gender dysphoria is therefore a condition. If you have a pre-existing condition, you can't be a soldier. It's the same thing with being colorblind in the Air Force. It's not about like they hate colorblind people. It's just that they don't want to have Air Force pilots that can't see certain things or have any sort of lesser ability than the other pilots, because people die in $8 million or $2 billion planes. So the same thing can be said with trans. Now they're saying, well, we've got it. They're neurodivergent. That's a solution. We just call this all neurodivergence. And the solution is interesting because it's coming from the military, and it's a way that they can deal with the society's choices. Like, well, okay, if you want to just be a citizen, that's fine. If you're neurodivergent, that means you're going to need us to give you drugs to make you less divergent if you're going to be part of the army or whatever. I mean, divergent doesn't necessarily mean, because maybe the army itself is divergent from society. So it's fine for you to be neurodivergent because you'll be able to fit in somewhere. We saw an article the other day about Canada neurodivergence. The military has started to do this, supporting neurodivergence in the workplace. I'll just pull this back up real quickly. They want to make it really easy for neurodivergence in the science, the spies agencies in Canada. So making sure that people that have, autism or can't deal with loud noises or whatever, they're trying to figure out ways of making neurodivergence just part and parcel to the society. So I think that's the solution in a lot of ways as well, because you think about sports as the big issue with the trans movement. In the military, it'd be less of a big deal. It's like, okay, well, people die in the military, so all bets are off, and you're trying to be as strong as you can. But in sports, it's like this qualitative competitive thing. And so they've already started trying to make divergent, there's the male and female, and now there's a divergent non-binary category in some places. And this is upsetting a lot of trans athletes who I think probably just want to win, and they can't win necessarily if they're diverted.
Yeah, I mean, all that is going to, add up to a hill of beans once we see actual war break loose. It's always like these world wars cook up right at the most, like we have affluenza. All these are problems of affluenza. Just when you're born into such a state of comfort that you have to create your own problems, and that's always when they cook with these world wars. And I think what it's really about is like the controllers, the people who are running the show, understand the natural cycles of humanity, how humanity kind of blossoms and then withers like a flower and just goes through these cycles. And they find a way to profit off of that and use the wars to kind of accelerate or even like mask the effects of these resets that are going to happen to us. Like, I don't think humanity can just progress in like this like straight upward line. I think it's meant to cycle, just like day and night cycles. And the people who have like the real understanding of how these ages and how these houses move, they're able to profit off of this. And for some reason, like their main, the main way they do it is through these world wars and just reshifting the game board, this game of risk thing where you just like shift the pieces around and, oh, now we have monarchs. Oh, now we got rid of the monarchs. Now we have dictators. Oh, now we have to get rid of the dictators. Now we've got these superpowers, but now we don't want them anymore, And once they have their one world government, they won't want that anymore either. It's like, it's just always like you build the sandcastle up and then knock it down.
Isn't it weird how they always ratchet up the fear around elections? Imagine how bad, what's going to be, I mean, because, we got midterms now.
Right.
Are we going to keep ratcheting up the fear till 2024 and then until slowly it just fucking, that seems like their tactic sometimes to get elected.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're only in a midterm election cycle right now. We've got World War III, pandemics. It's like, you guys are going to, they really are going to have to do like the lizard people or the aliens to, because in 2 years, people are going to be so desensitized. It's like, you've just been telling us World War III for 2 years straight. So it's like, how are you going to like turn up the pressure cooker anymore for the presidential election?
It's very easy. I mean, I'm even surprised you're asking that. Not that it's not, a valid question, but I mean, it's like, how does one dog, herd an entire, group of sheep? It's through fear, like literally through fear. They're afraid of that one dog. So, that's the best motivating tactic to make your people or govern your people is with fear. I think it's just, I guess, ping trip to what you're saying. It's like, yeah, I guess it's just ramped up more than ever, but they've never stopped. I mean, with this pandemic, they made it feel like you're going to die if you weren't vaccinated. And like with climate change, dude, they're going to have even more fear. Like with this hurricane in Florida, they're so mad that more stuff didn't get damaged. And so it's just, this fear tactics is their number one tool when it comes to control.
Branching it up. I expect the fear tactics to get worse. I don't expect it to.
What do you guys think about burnout?
People stop listening to the media, which will never happen.
No.
What do you guys think about burnout when we're overexposed to fear propaganda? Like, eventually, people are gonna become kind of calloused and jaded to it.
Ingrained,
like, whatever. If it's over for us, it's over. I mean, I feel that way already. Like I was a little bit of a germaphobe before the pandemic. Now I'm like licking doorknobs and I don't even care. I'm just like, I have to go the other direction.
They're hacking our survival instincts, dude. Is what they're doing.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
do you think there can be a burnout though, where people they're overloaded with the fear messaging and they're eventually just like, whatever?
It happens.
Well, a little bit. I agree with you, but there's other thing. There's hormonal response when our body releases cortisol, the hormone, our stress hormone. Our bodies get addicted to it, so we actually like it. Like we kind of get like. There's people that now the pandemic's is ending, and they're kind of nervous. Like, why aren't we wearing the mask? So there's like a group of people that love the pandemic, that love the constant trauma because hormonally they're addicted to the response that it gives. But yeah, I think a lot of people it does that. It's either they love it or they wake up and they realize, man, this is all a lie.
This reminds me of something that came out earlier today. Child sacrifice victims at Maya Midnight Terror Cave were gagged before slaughter. They found evidence of this because there are little blue cloth coverings over their faces, meaning both that this is not the first generation that has gone silently into the night, and nor the first generation that needed to be gagged in order to become submissive. But yes, that's the thing. We always look at this and say, oh, in the ancient times, I don't know. I was taught this, maybe you weren't, that they loved to be sacrificed. That was just like the thing to do. You go to play soccer, you win, you get to be sacrificed. Hooray. And here they're showing actually, no, yeah, they drugged the kids and they brought them up into the lower oxygenated parts of the mountains and then they gagged them. And it wasn't necessarily that they were like super stoked to be sacrificed, right? And it seems like that's kind of, there are probably people that were convinced like, oh, it's such a great opportunity to
we don't know any of that. It's the same thing. It's like we're allowing archaeologists to make inferences based on evidence that's gone through thousands of years of changes. So
it could have just been Epstein's
children were ill, and if they didn't remove them from the community, maybe they would have infected everybody else. I mean, I'm just trying to give another example to play devil's advocate, but I just, based on what we were talking about before, I think archaeologists have done so much to cover up the actual history of this continent and South and Central America any more than they've done to elucidate on it. They've really just covered it up.
I mean, but they spent so much time saying that it was like this really positive thing. You know, that's the way
we definitely know that they have a rubric for that they like to push. I mean, if you look at a lot of the 70s dystopian sci-fi movies like Logan's Run, this is like a theme that runs through them, that it's like an honor to like remove yourself from the equation to make room for the younger generation. So it's like your watch starts to beep, you're like, it's my ascension day, and you float up and get vaporized, and it's like this big celebration for you, you know. So this exists in their mind, whether or not that's what the Mayans are doing or not. That's certainly like a story that they want to keep, you know, in our minds. It's an honor to sacrifice yourself for the next generation, supposed to the natural human instinct to just like honor and take care of your elders, you know.
All right, well, there's war vibes. What about apocalypse vibes? You know, so they're telling you that the world's going to end a lot too. I see a lot of shows like the Leonardo DiCaprio Don't Look Up, you know, saying that the world's coming to an end. Black holes are usually this is kind of I don't know if this is racist or not, but it seems like there's a disproportionate amount of news is negative about black holes' violence against society. You know what I mean? It just makes black holes seem really destructive, and they never really talk about white holes. Although white holes exist, I mean, I don't know if black holes exist, but you know, white holes, they do have a white hole on Wikipedia page. So there's that. So I'm just saying, like, why are you always hearing about black holes? That might not be the actual question here, but do you think that this fear porn thing, you know, it's not just about war with each other, it's like end of the world's coming at us. You know, why do you think that they do that?
To scare the shit out of you, dude. So
to do what?
They can offer you safety and go, if this is what you do to survive.
But what safety did they ever?
My orders.
Has anyone offered like a solution for a meteor destroying?
It's not. Not
bigger government. You got to enlarge government to fight asteroids and meteors and whole other planet X and all that. You're going to need a huge government, you know.
Yeah,
true.
Exactly.
Keep paying corporations to go blow up meteors, right? What was the meteor that they just tried to blow up recently, right?
Oh, the giant gray potato. I was like, how come like the
it's
James
so
Webb
fake?
So
I don't
fake.
want to look at that crap. That is such the fakest bullshit I've ever seen.
Like they show you like a crab nebula like a million light years away, and it's all beautiful and colorful and stuff. And they're like, here's this nearby asteroid, and it's like a gray potato. I'm like, why is it black and white? But the things that are a billion light years away are like
beautiful. They literally want it to be like Armageddon, like they're sending Bruce Willis to go blow up this asteroid. I mean, it's just give me a freaking break. I'm just so full. I mean, I'm a moon landing, obviously hoax or denier, whatever you want to call it. So I can trust NASA so little. But dude, even the people that run the simulations and people that run it, that said they can't tell the difference between the actual operation or a simulation because they're just looking at computer screens. So it's like, dude, it's just such garbage, that meteor stuff. Don't even get me started with that.
Did you guys? No, we're there. Did you guys ever watch Hardware Wars? This like it's like a 1978 short that makes fun of Star Wars basically, and he's got the Wookiee monster and everything else like that. And it's like, oh, you look like you just screamed out and were suddenly silenced, or millions of voices went through your head. No, just a migraine. But the whole time he's got like the moon is a basketball, and all the things are proportionally the same because the guy worked on Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey beforehand. So he just replaced all the things with dice and mirrors and things like that, just to show how easy it would be to proportionally make something look completely real that was fake. And once you zoom in a little bit, you're like, oh yeah, it's a basketball, just like spinning there in the light. But yeah, okay. So this is important though. So you've got all this fake media. I mean, what are we gonna do? Pretend that the media from outer space is any more real than the media from China? Like everything we're seeing is fake. They have Anderson Cooper in front of a blue or green screen, in front of CGI or whatever video.
Oh, easy. Now you owe $1 billion. Be careful.
Yeah, we're almost there. He's done that a few times. He's done that a few times, and we all know it. I think he's even, we've got videos of it happening. I think we're okay. Ever in life, Anderson Cooper stood in front of a green screen? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But, I mean, that is a big issue, though, that you're not allowed to question these things. Alex Jones' $1 billion verdict. What do you guys think?
It's bullshit. I mean, they're trying to bankrupt him.
First off, what happened? Let's explain it to the people that worked all week and didn't know this happened.
I just talked to Rob Dew about this. He was on the show recently. The episode just came out on my Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast feed. But yeah, it's bullshit. I think it's $250,000 per plaintiff, and they're saying there's like 15 plaintiffs. It's this, crazy free speech. Like this is an anathema to our Constitution, and they're allowing this to happen in the Constitution state of all places. So I'm pretty upset, but it's a weaponized trial.
People are going to build statues to Alex Jones. Sorry, go ahead. No, you go.
Yeah, what they do to Alex Jones, to me, it's more about us than it is about Alex. It's like, look at what we're doing. This is what happens. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's like that Donald Trump statement he made about himself. He's like, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. Well, that wasn't true about Trump. He's fine. He's golfing right now. He's chill. But Alex Jones, it applies to him perfectly. You know what I mean? Like exactly what they did to Alex Jones, they'd love to do to all of us. They're making a martyr out of him, which is a giant mistake. I mean, there's going to be statues to this guy in the future, 100-foot statues to Alex Jones because of what they're doing now. They knocked him off of the face of the earth, so it's difficult to find his show, you know, and people pretty much forgot about him, but it's like the bad boy boyfriend. They can't get enough of him, so they have to bring him back into the news again and just make this like this huge public show trial. It's like you hid the guy and now you're bringing him back. They're like addicted to him, and he's a hero. I love Alex Jones.
Yeah, shout out to Alex. Yeah, it's to me, we're already seeing free speech being killed. Like, I think it's already dead, because once everybody has this fear of reprisal for their speech, people stop saying what the fuck they think. And I've seen a complete turnaround on the internet since they've started pulling out the censorship, where people are just, they're not as free, they're not having as much fun, and everybody's worried about everything they fucking say. And I'm worried about just saying that. I'm probably going to get banned. Go ahead.
I'm not even a free speech guy. I'm like a truth guy. Like, I don't want people to be free to lie and just to like instigate violence and stuff like that, because it doesn't exist in nature. Like, okay, free speech, fine, but like then go into like a black neighborhood and just run around screaming the N-word. How many cops are we going to have on every corner to protect your right to free speech? So it's not a realistic thing, really. But like, cultures are supposed to be able to decide for themselves what people can say in their neighborhood and what they can't say. You know what I mean? And then when you have this overarching government structure that's like, it's a lie to begin with. Oh, everyone's free in America to say anything. It's like, obviously that's not true, you know, because by the time the cops get to you, you're going to be dead. So it's like, technically you're allowed to say it, but you know, the person standing next to you might not like it too much. So I feel like,
but it's still illegal to kill somebody because they said something you didn't like. You know, I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think like the open marketplace of ideas, bad ideas, terrible ideas, you fucking debate them. And if it's a terrible idea, you're going to fucking win. You're going to make them look like an idiot because they're a fucking idiot.
Well, ideas are one thing, but there are certain things you just can't get away with saying in the wild, which is what we are. We're wild animals.
But yeah, I mean, you can't walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm going to stab you in the face," and then not expect them to. It
implies a giant state to police everything. Like it takes a bigger state to allow for free speech than it does for like polite society. Like, polite society can exist without an inflated state, but if you want people to be free to say everything, that implies a huge police state to protect people from saying unpopular things.
I have to disagree with that one,
but I feel that way about all of our rights, honestly.
But also, so Elon Musk kind of did the same thing. There's this balance struck on the future of Twitter, talking about how he wants to be a free speech absolutist, but ways that hate speech will be deplatformed, etc. I mean, so that kind of sounds like what you're saying, Seth. Do you think that where's the line though where that becomes exactly what Facebook did, and then we're censoring on the other side or something?
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, you want obviously localization of power. You don't want centralization of power. So, I mean, Facebook is a huge corporation. The United States government is a huge corporation. I mean, left alone, people will self-segregate into societies where people say the things that you want to hear. And if you're the one guy in town that doesn't like what everyone's saying, then you're going to move over to Shelbyville or the next town over or something. But when you put these huge entities in charge of you know, it's always going to be someone's opinion of what you're allowed to say or what you're not allowed to say. As long as within our First Amendment, there's certain things you can't do. You can't call to violence. That's totally subjective. Hate speech, subjective. You know, they make all these subjective subcategories, and who's going to be the judge that decides if what you're saying, you know, is like in the fringe category things.
Right.
Well, did you see JP Morgan Chase ended Kanye West's banking at
really
crazy
today? Yeah, they closed his account. They gave him a month to close the account. Look at Candace Owens' latest tweet. So you don't even really get a judge. You don't even get a judge. You just get the corporations.
What the heck? And so why? Because of his White Lives Matter shirt? Is that the reason?
No, because of his stuff that he said about Israel.
Oh, right. Oh, man.
See, and if we had a real fucking capitalist system right now where there was tons of competition and everything wasn't being monopolized by a few corporations in almost every fucking industry, then it probably wouldn't be that big of a problem that corporations do this. But once they monopolize the town square with big tech, once they monopolize how humans communicate, then it becomes a free speech First Amendment issue, in my opinion. And this is where, like, we need to do something about it. We just need to go, okay, big tech, you're now a common carrier, just like landlines were back in the day, and you can't deny anybody service unless they're literally breaking the law. And I think even then, if you broke the law on the phone, you could still fucking get a phone.
Yeah, no, you can. Everybody can go get a cell phone service, but it'll be like Gavin McInnes. They shut down his bank account. I mean, they can just make it where you can't live digitally on the internet, basically with PayPal, with whatever banking system you want. They can just shut you down from all of them.
Yeah, because there's no options. There's only very few options, and they're all coordinating together. They're all fucking meeting behind closed doors to coordinate prices and all kinds of shit.
I mean, there's just so many of these examples. I wish I could find a list of presidential blacklists that have happened. You can think of like Ross Perot comes up. Trump has been another one, obviously. People that are just universally blacklisted by the system itself. And this is, there was in the 40s, Hoover was essentially blacklisted. Garfield was blacklisted at a certain point and then assassinated. I mean, it seems like it's pretty obvious when the whole system comes against you left and right, and you've got Liz Cheney and so the Democrats and the Republicans against opposition, then the third party can't be the third party, because then the third party will just become part of the multipartisan, right? Multipartisan. Like you see, like New Zealand, Canada, Australia, what do? Well, it's like here where the Democrats and the Republicans are friends and they have coalitions, except it's completely open. No one's hiding it. It's a transparent truth that, yeah, of course. I mean, they have to have alliances across the issues, regardless if they're selected by their political parties. So, I mean, if we do this, aren't we going to lead to a place where, and what is the Green Party? A more bureaucratic party than the Democrats? And what is the Libertarian Party? A more neoconservative adjacent party than the Republicans? I mean, it's Goldwater, right? Goldwater Libertarian. That was what
whoa.
identified as.
Well, the modern day Libertarian Party is the Mises Caucus and Dave Smith.
True.
So, I mean, it's not very Goldwater in I'm kind of interested to compare Kanye and Alex Jones. Are we even allowed to say Jew on YouTube? I'm half Jewish, by the way, but are we?
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Not in a negative way. Like, I don't want to do the JQ. I just want to ask, and maybe we're not allowed to talk about it. Alex Jones has one attitude towards Jews, which is let's not make a boogeyman out of it. And he used to go in Israel, and he actually stopped doing it because he felt like there was a boogeyman building up. And Kanye West is like the other way around, where now he's like having this discovery that like he's got a problem with like Judaism as a whole. Like, how do you compare and contrast the two of them and their attitudes?
I mean, I don't know if that's the case. From his quote, he was saying that the African Americans were, he believes, actually Jewish. So in his defense, I mean, almost he's saying that he is Jewish. He's trying to identify as a Jewish person. I don't know if that's exactly his intention, but the way it was delivered on paper, certainly.
Yeah, I don't know how that squares with like his born again Christianity. Yeah, I don't know if you can be a black Hebrew Israelite and a born again Christian at the same time or not. I think he's just kind of confusing himself.
Yeah, you can be a Jew for Jesus.
That's true.
It's all the same canon of.
He's going to be the first ever black Jew for Jesus. That's kind of amazing.
It's just,
I mean, there's
the subtleties of the same religion: the Old Testament, New Testament, and then the Quran. They're all a continuation of one another. So yeah, you could be all three. Why not?
I mean, we kind of talked about this before a bit, but in terms of Rastafarianism, I mean, do you think is that something that's influencing him? Probably, right?
100%, yeah. But Rastafari has nothing in common with the Black Hebrew Israelites. I mean, it's a totally different attitude about the whole thing. But yeah, they do believe that like Ethiopia is Jerusalem, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty close. So I thought maybe he was getting at it from that perspective. He might have listened to some reggae music that said so.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's what I'm interested in is like Alex Jones is like, hey, let's lay off of the Jews, and like Kanye West, they're both supposed to be like on our side, but they have a totally like opposite attitude about this. And it's one of those like topics that's like everybody has an opinion on, you know?
I mean, it's weird to me that the Jews and Israel are considered the same thing. They're not really very similar in concept, in my opinion. There are Jews in Israel. There are also Baha'i. There are atheists. There are a number of people of different faiths. There are people that have lived in Iraq and Afghanistan or Russia before they came to Israel. I mean, it's a diverse culture. It's a state. It's a state and not just a nation, right? Whereas, to be Jewish is part of being a Jewish nation, the same way Islam is the nation of Islam. So it's a migratory nation with a culture versus a state with many cultures. And because you have to look at it more along the lines of what's going on today, not like what's always been happening, it's also very confusing because we try to think about the history of the persecution of a people instead of thinking about the state's actions against another state, which is like a legal question. And it's like, is the state of Israel?
Right. So Kanye West was making a statement against kind of like a culture, basically against like cultural Jews, because like the Jews, he has a problem with don't wear yarmulkes, they don't take the Sabbath. You know, my dad was 100% Jewish, but didn't believe in God. So it's like the difference between a cultural Jew and an actual like Orthodox Jew, who there's also tons of in New York. And it seems like there needs to be this distinction that's understood amongst the internet, because people throw around the word Jew, and it's like, are you talking about the ones with yarmulkes or the ones who are Goldman Sachs? Because they're the ones that Goldman Sachs don't believe in God. So it's like, I don't know what it means for them to be Jewish. That's like where they came from, you know, genetically.
You know, when it comes to Kanye, I think we do this too often. When somebody gets censored, we start debating what they said rather than just taking the simple stance of like, he has his right to say whatever the fuck he wants, and whether it's unpopular or you hate it or whatever, that's his right. And now,
well, yeah, but like if he's not getting arrested and bankers are saying they don't want to work with him anymore, that actually almost isn't that their right to refuse service then?
I actually like what he said. I wish he just clarified who he was talking about more, because the word means a million different things. But I like what he said. Like, I'm totally against it.
That's a good question. Do we have free speech if corporations can shut down our free speech?
Well, I mean,
if a company wants you to bake your gay cake, I'm gonna bake the gay cake. I love baking gay cakes.
I mean, we're supposed to have free speech, and if there's something getting in the way of everything should be about how do we get free speech? Not corporations can just take our free speech. No, how do we stop that then? Because free speech needs to override
two different
all
problems.
that shit.
It's like, how do you get free speech, and how do you get the ability to, for free, pull up the microphone and talk to like everyone in the world?
Protections for political speech and for people's opinions. I mean, it's different if you're murdering somebody. It's different if you're raping somebody. If you have a bad opinion that other people don't like, that needs to be protected from fucking.
Well, yeah, it is protected. He's not being arrested.
From losing ability to earn a living, losing the ability to have a, you know.
Yeah, like I think if someone says
the microphone is a product, the ability to speak to the whole world is like a product. You know what I mean? So it's no one's actually had their free speech taken away to where they came and like sewed their lips shut, like the Matrix, where their mouth disappears or something. That what they've done is taken away proprietary products, and that's, you know, it's a gray zone.
Yeah, you don't have a right to amplification. That's basically.
I mean, don't you consider a bank a platform for your money?
If I was a Marxist, yes. Sure, but since
I mean, to me, there should be I mean, if the government's going to do anything good, which it never does, how about just making protections for free speech so people can say unpopular opinions, which is very important for society to function, to be able to say unpopular opinions, which often are the fucking truth. I'm not saying in Kanye's case, I love the Jews, they're my brothers. But a lot of times unpopular opinions happen to be the truth, because they're not very, it's not very fun to live in reality. A lot of people like to live in their little fake world, and then you come around and give them a little reality and everybody's angry at you.
Just to play devil's advocate, is Chase Bank deplatforming Kanye? Is that their First Amendment right? Like that's basically their form of speech.
I don't think that's speech. I don't think, I think when you're running a bank and you're platforming people's money, I kind of consider that like a social media platform.
Man, but our speech banks mess with you for so many ways. If your credit's wrong, I mean, so if you say the wrong thing, I don't know.
We could boycott Chase Bank. You know, that would be our speech. So it's kind of like a back and forth speech equation. It just depends how much skin in the game the average person who's not being censored and isn't trying to do a podcast wants to have. So if you're a member of Chase Bank, maybe you want to boycott them and take your money out of Chase Bank, but you probably don't if you're not in the free speech battle like we are, talking all the time in a monetized fashion.
Dude, I want Kanye coin though. I think if he like put it all into a new, think about it. There you go, and then you can get more Kanye shirts and boots and stuff like that. The more you have the coins, probably. I don't know, something like that. Not so much. I don't know.
The moon boots, I can't afford those.
But all right, there's also the Yale law trumpets free speech stance. I mean, the judge's clerk boycott push. So a lot of these hyper leftist progressivists they pushed out so many people, and there's only like 6 of them left, and they're the ones who pushed everyone out. Now the pushers are saying, hey, but we need to have our defense of freedom of speech. So it's turning back around. They're going to say, okay, well, now that we pushed out everybody we want to push out, we don't need this. Desperate times called for desperate measures, but we've basically won now, right? There aren't anyone left to argue with us.
So free speech for me and not for thee is what you're saying, is what they're doing right now. It's like now that they've evicted any free thinkers, that they're allowing free speech. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, right? It seems like they don't want you to be able to say anything. They got rid of everyone else. Like Alex, they'll cancel you. And then afterwards, they'll be
Don't
allowed.
say that. Fuck off, Andres. That's why I haven't said a word with the topic you guys have talked about for the past 5 minutes.
He's like sweating bullets.
I haven't said a word. Yeah. Well, dude, I got crushed because I was on InfoWars. I was filling in for Alex Jones, and
you looked beautiful. Like the shirtless part, dude. Like it inspired a lot of men.
Okay. Well, good. But I'm saying my buddy who is in LA, who's actually being charged for January 6th, facing a long time. He actually turned down an 18-month. Plea deal. He turned it down. I don't know. I think he should have taken it. But my point being is he said, oh, well, there's a mafia that runs Hollywood. And I immediately went to commercial break. Not because of what he was saying, because the time was over, but because I went to the break.
That's a verbatim quote. That's all.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm getting crushed by the real conspiracy theories. Like,
didn't you also say though there's certain things we can't talk about even on InfoWars?
I said it exactly. I said that right after, and I don't want them coming after us. But no, it's you didn't expose him. You didn't use the platform. So it's like, dude, you're right. They want to cancel me, and I have to be very extra careful that they're not able to do it. But it's hard.
Andreas, you're muted. You're muted, Andreas.
That's good because I was screaming at the camera. I mean, but then what's going to happen is Larry David's going to come out and he's going to make a huge joke all about the exact same thing, and it'll be completely okay. Or somebody else. Maybe not Larry David. Maybe it'll be give me like Peele, Jordan Peele, or something. Will make a movie about it or maybe it will be a movie with Kevin Bacon. It's like it'll just be a popularized, acceptable thing because they pushed out you and me and anyone who's talking about this that is talking about it from this side. But then they're going to be able to talk about. I mean, I've already started to notice all of the quarantine jokes on Netflix. All of these comedians now that are saying things not quite as funny as we did when they were happening a year and a half later. They're trying to they probably went on Twitter, copied some tweets, and then they turned them into jokes for the other side. So, I mean, we're getting to a point now where it's almost shut down. What do we do? Do we just stay quiet? I mean, that doesn't make sense, right?
You got to join a corporation. That's the only chance you have. Okay, if you're independent, people forget this is really what it's about. It's about corporations versus independent. Okay, and this is why they every big news rag was shitting on YouTube when it was independent media that was killing it on YouTube, and they shit on them and they blackmailed them, or maybe YouTube is going to go along the whole time, but they've set up a whole system now where if you're not corporate, you're not an authoritative source. You can't lie. You don't get to lie.
And the algorithm's totally against you.
Yeah. So if you're with the corporation, you can get away with anything because they'll send an email behind the scenes like, hey, that's my boy, don't touch him. But everybody else, if you don't got that behind the scenes guy who can get that email to the guy that's doing the thing behind the scene, you're fucked.
Right. Man, I mean, like the Biden story is old now, but it's like this is how things happen. The story came out, we all knew it was true. They censored it and tried to hide it. And now the redaction comes. Now they have to retract and say it was true and they're sorry. But this is a year later, so no one cares. So the fact that the truth is out now and that they're bothered to post it, granted, this is still from Fox. I don't know if I've seen but I could do it. Check this out. Hunter Biden laptop, CNN. Even CNN is going to have now articles that admit that it was real, but they're covered up in a certain way, pushed back by XCIA officials, etc. Oh, and those are Fox again.
Well, this is that history thing that we were talking about. Like, how can you believe any of history when we've seen in the last 2 years how they've kind of erased one history and pushed another? And you see it in the search results. You see it in what surfaces. It's just ridiculous, dude. Sorry.
No, I agree.
Good. You guys are from Texas, so maybe can someone tell me about? You guys remember the Galveston, Texas flood thing, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we get crushed Galveston, but what about it?
Well, I mean, because it's like when we look at Galveston, Texas, and we think about Texas, and they say, "Oh, Texas is a state," and it was really like the Wild West. It's just not completely true because for a long time you have this infrastructure, and there was all sorts of history, and there were like libraries and records, and they were destroyed. So there's that example of a kind of Back to the Future 3. We don't have any records before the flood. There was a flood that came through Hill Valley and destroyed everything, kind of thing.
And that's you and I both agree with that though. Like they hide so much stuff. It's like somehow everything got burned down or flooded in the early 1900s. I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, man. Ping Trip, you gotta check into the Galveston thing, and you can see it's a similar thing. Look at Detroit today. This is the other thing. Detroit.
Is this Tartaria? Is that what we're on?
We got there. Yeah, at least ideologically.
Kind of, a little bit. Or we just kind of don't know the origins or the
Yeah,
age.
I'm so. It's every time I try to get into it, it's so hard for me to follow. It's like there's so much.
Well, dude,
like,
you got to look into the world's fairs and stuff and be like, how did we have how are we able to build all this stuff without any power tools? It's kind of similar to like the moon story in 1969 through 1972. We're able to, build space technology that we can't even recreate today.
Yeah, no, I believe that most history is lost. With the history we have is a tiny fragment of actual history.
But you think it's actually you think it's a fragment of actual history though, not just a made-up Disney movie.
No, I think it's also a lot of made up shit because the winners just will make up shit that makes them look good, and that's always been the case. The winners write history, and they're not going to write everything. They're going to write the shit that makes them look good. They're going to present a picture that's pleasurable to them at that period of time.
Exactly.
Or
what
for
I
their
was
power.
saying before about the rock wall in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
for some reason, there's utility in tearing this stuff down for the people that rule the world. Like they see all this ancient, beautiful architecture, and their move is to tear it down, and we don't know why. That's the frustrating point.
Doesn't make any sense why you would tear that down.
Yeah. But they're also building. So then you think about the new world order. All this like Astana, right? They have these the new kind of World's Fair is in Astana and several cities like it, and the goal to. I mean, if you've seen some, I wish I could find the example of like the occult symbology, but they've got like the hand and the pyramid, all this stuff. Some people say like the official story behind the World's Fair is that they built all this stuff in order to give us dreams. Look at this great symbology, and maybe that'll inspire America to have a culture that they didn't have before. Kind of a horrible story. But think about it like right now. If they do erase everything, and there are a lot of people born today who don't get their McGraw-Hill history books in public schooling, then they're going to see this stuff in the world that they're put into. And what's it going to mean to them? Like, what are the goals of this next generation growing up in this sort of twin tower symbology, these two towers of Babel and everything?
I mean, a lot of black square symbology as well.
Oh yeah, dude. Maybe that's worth to go into. Also, the Kaaba. What do you think that's all about? The meteor or something? The black square, the monolith.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, this ties in again to the J word, but it originates from the black cube you wear on your head when you have your 14th birthday, and inside of it is your favorite passage of the Torah. That's all I know for sure.
But, and we all have a black mirror. I mean, my screen's turning on, but literally we all carry a black mirror in our, we carry the monolith in our freaking, and we carry it like in our pocket. And that's kind of like what separates us from reality, is that we plug into this fake world and we don't live in like the real world.
What do you think about 2001? You know what always tripped me out about that opening scene? The apes are all vegetarian or vegan, and then the monolith comes and they all start eating each other because they figure out how to use bones as weapons and stuff. Like, do you think that's like? I always thought that was like a psyop. It's probably the other way around. That because I feel like eating meat is very based. I eat a lot of meat, and I'd hate to. Think
I know. And I had to say this because I'm a vegetarian soy boy. I'm not a vegan, so I eat cheese, but I stopped eating meat. And one of the reasons why is I know I've gotten so fat because all I eat is cheese pizza. But
Alex,
my point being is, I know, no, it's terrible. But I do it for the
shed a tear.
But this is also why I think about it, and I'm not super religious, but in heaven it says that you live harmoniously with the animals in heaven, and so that doesn't, I don't even think you eat in heaven necessarily. So listen, go eat. I have a bunch of cats. I have to buy chicken and pork and fish all the time for them. But I do think there is something kind of civilized about there's so many food options, not having to necessarily eat meat. I'm not saying I'm anti-meat, but like this is my point. I was just at the Texas State Fair, and they have the pig competitions, and I never really walked the pig pen. But these people were walking them like dogs. Like they didn't have a chain on them. They slept all day. These are beautiful, fat. I'm not talking about wild hogs.
Right.
I'm talking about nice, clean pigs that are in a competition. And I was like, man, you're walking that pig. Are you going to eat that? He's like, man, it's the best damn bacon. I was like, I get that, you want to like, kill a wild hog or something, but you just want to kill that? And he's like, man, I'll blow its head off when I'm ready to eat it. I'm like, wow, how can you just kill a pet? He's like, I don't look at it like a pet. So I don't know. It's for me, it's kind of funny that I can domesticate a dog, but there's people that domesticate chickens, and their chickens kind of remember them, and they domesticate pigs and domesticate all kinds of animals. So
it's our natural state, though, Alex. Our natural state.
I get it.
Around, killing things and eating them.
I'm gonna
We
go.
assume that could be more perverted history. We don't know. Maybe we didn't used to have the pointed teeth, and maybe the monolith came and tricked us into eating meat, and now our teeth got pointier. Maybe cats were vegetarian. You know, who knows?
And the winner of this argument is Seth. Seth was the one who was right. So here's the deal. There's been a lot of.
I don't even know what I said.
There's been a lot of studies going on whether it was heat versus meat, whether meat was super important, whether you needed meat to evolve, and the argument had been disproven. Eukaryotes like mushrooms and things like that, hyper fatty acids and grains, super important to the brain growth. The omega oils that were available in hemp is probably a much bigger reason why humans are smart, is literally hemp and mushrooms. But the biggest reason is because the amount of nutrients you could digest when you heated your food, right? If you take spinach and steam it up or something, you get the idea that heat actually led to fastest amount of brain growth in humans. And so there's a decent amount of studies that have gone on for the last like 30 years that have basically.
Did I say that? I don't even know how I'm right in this equation. I don't even think I said.
Well, you had said that meat versus heat. Like, is it really true, or is it propaganda that meat was the reason that humans have evolved into the thing they are?
Sure. Yeah,
and it's not necessarily true. Like, for instance, gorillas, much bigger than us, eat nothing but leaf matter. They're pretty intelligent as well, but there's certain things about them that are different. It's not because of the fact that they're carnivorous. Look at chimpanzees, right? Chimpanzees eat meat. Are chimpanzees smarter than gorillas? No.
Maybe I'm misinterpreting the 2001 scene. I just thought of right now. Maybe it's not that the apes become meat eaters. Maybe it's that they become cannibals because they're eating.
It's because they become tool users.
But then they become cannibals. They're eating they're eating their own species. So maybe there's some significance in that. Obviously, there's massive significance.
So what the scene? I don't know if this is fair, but if I was to try to harp on one of David Plate's points from Think Tank, it's that the monolith is the thing that changes them, not the heat or the meat, but the monolith itself. Well, yeah. And so then after that, they're using tools, and from tools on, anything is possible: cannibalism or meat eating, or building.
I think we're forgetting one part though. It's a movie, dude.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, don't ever say that about a Kubrick film.
But yeah,
I mean, it's a movie.
Right. After this movie, they tapped him to do the moon landing. So,
right. So I mean, there's a lot of.
I love Kubrick, but it's a movie.
I totally disagree with that. I think movies are that's their whole magic right there.
Right. I can't imagine $150 million into an art project that was just a movie, especially a movie where the Pope stood up and said, "This is a man who truly understands metaphysics and God." I mean, so there's a lot of things about that movie that are out of place. The fact that he burned down all the sets afterwards.
You don't think it's a fictional movie? Do you think it's a?
It's all symbology.
No, it is a fictional movie, of course. But it's called predictive programming. They put it. They type in predictive programming of 9/11. You'd be blown away by all of the media, art, and propaganda of how those towers are going to come down before they came down. And you can just be like, oh, well, it was just symbolism of buildings coming down. It's like, no, some of this stuff is really like on the nose.
And symbology wise, like, so HAL, what's the letter after A is B, what's the letter after H? IBM, LM. So IBM, L, this is the idea that they're trying.
Why not go with the letter before it instead of the letter after it? And what does it spell?
Oh, there's a reason for that too, which has to do with gematria. There's a Hal gematria, and also because Hal Craig is the name of the ghostwriter that Kubrick pretended to be when he was making.
How can there be a Hal gematria when there's no vowels in Hebrew?
There's a value that you can use as an infinity symbol. There's or a kind of a apostrophe thing, but in general, you would remove it and it'd be H and L as well. Yeah. But there's a reason. I think that's the main reason, because otherwise, bet has a value too.
They asked Kubrick if he did that on purpose with HAL and IBM, and he claimed no, he didn't.
Of course,
who knows?
Of course, and that's the other reason why I feel like if it was just a movie, you would take credit for stuff like that. You'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm super clever. Thank you for noticing." And right, yeah. And it's just a movie, but it's just a movie. But I'm lucky it was so good. Instead, he's like, you know what? Yeah, it's just a movie, and I don't know what it's about. And
what was Clockwork Orange then? What is that?
Clockwork Orange is all about what do you call it? MK chatter, mind control, neurolinguistic programming, trigger response control, teaching people to respond to stimuli certain ways. It's a more noticeable, observable experience for the 1960s Kentucky Fried Movie audience. That group of people who were already into laugh tracks would have no idea. But if you'd just shown people with laugh tracks in the 30s, that would have freaked people out as much as Clockwork Orange. So they had to make it more intense to make the point. There's so many people under mind control.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but it's still, to me, it's a fiction. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. See, like, first off, truth is
still a fictional work of art can still have like shit like that goes, oh, well, this is kind of like this and that, but it's still, at the end of the day, there was. So you guys believe there was a monolith that landed when we were fucking in the caves? I mean,
I literally, I do, because the Kaaba stone is literally that.
See, I'm telling you, Alex, they actually believe that.
Is the Kaaba stone not that? There's literally the idea that there's a meteor in a cube, right? That's what it is. The monolith is representative of. And this is also interesting.
Could be a representative of religion, right?
Well, so again, Hal Craig is the ghost. Is that the right ghost? The prophet. Let me do this right. The message.
Everybody loves to shit on religion and act like religion's the thing that's destroyed the world, when religion's probably kept us alive instead of destroying each other more times than not.
So Hal Craig's ghostwriting of the message is a good one, because it shows in 1976, right before Airport 77, that he did a movie about Muhammad, starring everyone but Muhammad, so he wouldn't get killed for making the movie. Like, Muhammad's always in the other room. But it's all about the Kaaba as the black monolith, and it just continues to harp on that point. And people have to spin around a certain way, and everywhere they go into the future, it's the idea of when you touch the monolith, you touch the touchstone, is the name Disney chose to use for their monolith, right? The idea that the touchstone will affect you. It's an alchemical, it's the philosopher's stone. And the idea that it's a solid state technology that's holding some sort of radio or energy, like so a heavy metal that has AI inside of it is kind of the idea.
It's like in Marvel Comics, for some reason, like all this stuff is in Marvel Comics going back to the 40s. But what do they call it? Not Tartarian, but there's like Targaryen stones or something like that, where if you have latent mutant abilities, basically, if you breathe in the dust from this space stone, it activates them. And that's where the Inhumans come from in Marvel Comics. So this stuff has been part of our culture longer than we remember. Just like they reset architecture and history and everything else, they've been resetting media and stories. And we get the same stories on repeat. I mean, literally Marvel Comics has Thor in it. So that's an example of something that's a holdover. But we've been getting the same stories about the origins in the human species and forced evolution, and tampering, things like Anunnaki and stuff like that. We've been getting the same stories in our culture longer than we remember it. So this has something foundational to do with the actual history of why are we different than other animals, and so mankind.
The monolith's stone, the black stone, which is at the corner of the monolith, right? So you have to walk around this golden ratio. It's not a circle. It's not a triangle exactly. It is a triangle. It's a isosceles, right? Of a golden ratio, and then the black stone. And so the black stone is this meteor, and their myth or truth, whatever their story is, that it was revered as sacred in Mecca prior to being found in Islam. Muslim tradition says that the black stone was found by Ibrahim and his son Ishmael when they were searching for the stones that they were going to build the Kaaba. According to the popular belief, it absorbs the sins of those who touch it. And, you know, at this point, you've got all these stories like the Ark of the Covenant, which electrocutes you. Ark of the Covenant, Indiana Jones, right? I mean, all of these things which are supposed to be super tech, you know, Tartaria-like tech pieces that'll electrocute you and kill you, or have radiation inside of them from some ship thing. What's that one, Alex? The Canadian island thing? Oak Island, is that right?
Oak Island. What about it?
Before you go into that, I just want to say the best part of Indiana Jones is, I think it's, I forget which one, where they do find the Holy Grail, and and it just goes into the Smithsonian in a box at the back of the museum. You know, it's like all these people died for it, and then when they find it in a box, put in the middle of nowhere and never to be seen again.
Super real, right? But the idea that these things are hyper tech. And they're so old that we think of them as magic, because for a long time people didn't know what the technology even did, except that if you didn't know how to use it, it would kill you, right? I mean, that's basically the thing. But yeah, Oak Island there's an idea that Oak Island, you can get killed in the money pit because the money pit has radiation, right? Is that the deal? Or is that, Mark, do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, they've dug several different times, and there's such an active amount of water. I think the tunnel just keeps on like submerging. And I haven't heard about the radiation thing, but I know that.
Well, why is it a money pit? Yeah, why do you get money from it?
Well, there's gold. Some people say that the Templars traveled across the Atlantic Ocean way before Columbus, and they buried a bunch of their treasures on Oak Island. And that's why, as Andreas pointed out earlier, there's the Kensington Runestone, as well as numerous others. The Newport Tower is another interesting anomaly in New England that people have blamed Europeans, pre-Columbian Europeans. So yeah, it's interesting. What I was talking about earlier with the megalithic stones in New England, those are also connected to this theory of people from Ireland or Vikings or so on, Templars even coming here and trading with the Native Americans and doing things like burying gold at the bottom of an island with a series of traps.
Right, the traps is an emphasis point. So some of those traps, flooding traps, slide doors, trap doors, but if it opens wrong, then water will jump up really quickly, flash flooding the inside of it.
It's like the Goonies.
Yeah. But they got down, what was it? Like they think it's like 153, 158, some weird number that's really sacred to the Knights Templar as well. And they got to that point and they found like a map or something like that. And they think that it's even deeper. So here's an example of people building tunnels centuries ago, at least. I mean, we know that it had to have been built a long time ago, either by the Templars or before it. And yeah, all these pieces of tech that are super dangerous, from the past. So I don't know. The monolith sticks out. I forget what it was about 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was just that the monolith affects you through the transitionary period, and that's a big part of that idea of the reset coming. Because everyone's talking about the reset, they're saying, "Oh, you're going to eat bugs and everything else like that." But it feels like we're leaving out the transhumanist thing. Like it should be more about how they're evolving humans. Humans are changing very quickly. What it means to be a human, what's expected of a human. And in the next 20 years, I mean, it was already a very big transition for parents of the tech generation, right? They didn't know how to hold on and they just had to wait to die in a lot of ways. Because now that tech is here, it's going to be even weirder into the metaverse. And we're going to maybe lose a bit of our humanity, but we're going to become a thing. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel that way or what do you think?
Is our humanity just our animal nature? Because what do you mean by humanity?
Right. It's a good question. I mean, because that's the thing. I mean, as transhumanism happens, how much are we going to remain? What are the things that need to stay? And are you afraid that they're trying? I mean, it feels like they're trying to take away individuality, privacy, personal thought, things like that. Those are the kinds of things that would be the most effectively removed through neural link and already are being tapped at by censorship.
My as someone who identifies more conservative than progressive, but I'm trying to work on that. It sounds scary to disassociate from the body and stuff like that. Sounds scary to me, but I want to try to embrace it more. And I think privacy has been a dangerous illusion this entire time, because if you think about, where does privacy come from? That's a right guaranteed to us. I guess it's technically freedom from search and seizure, but we call it privacy and we expect to have privacy. We feel like we deserve privacy, but we're born into nature and naked, and just like birds and squirrels and everything staring at your genitals. And we have the Bible story about where we found shame and then we started covering our genitals and stuff. But this expectation that we can have privacy only works in like a very limited range of human development, from like when we started building walls and houses, but then it doesn't work anymore as soon as you have the internet and like cameras and satellites and drones and stuff like that. So the expectation that you can retain privacy, we started off with no privacy and eventually we won't have any privacy.
That's a really good point. The idea that we were naked. I mean, in a world without privacy, one of the things will be that everyone can see you all the time naked.
Was that Geordie LaForge from Star Trek?
I hope so. That'd be a good. I would watch that. I would watch that version of the story. But I mean,
do you think privacy is important, or is privacy just like secrets? Like secrets are bad, like what are we ashamed of?
What do you guys think? Privacy.
We don't have it when we signed away the Patriot Act. They can look at us anytime through our phones, emails. They can do warrantless search and seizures of our phones and emails. So if they want to look, they can. They can listen to your Google Home thing and your Amazon Home thing. So the idea of having privacy, I mean, listen, Facebook even admits when you download their app that it'll look at your pupils while you're scrolling the app, and it'll measure the dilation of your pupils when you like or dislike something. So it's like the idea that, these corporations aren't turning on the camera and looking at you. come on, that's all these smart TVs. They got cameras in it. You don't think they ever, the CIA, somebody that they want to turn it on, they can. Now, do they for the Joe Blow like you or me? I don't know. Probably, yeah.
For you and me,
especially
for you and you. Yeah, I mean,
I had to tell. That's what I'm saying. I almost stopped jacking it because I don't want them to have a video of me on my phone cranking it. I'm nervous to crank it in this day and age. You
just have to do it in a really creative way.
Only sex. No, just only sex. Because then if a sex tape gets out, I'm not ashamed of that.
Yeah. I almost want to, I've thought about that too, and I almost want to push through it. Like, I hope a video of me jacking it just comes out so it can be over with. I feel like all this stuff is inevitable at this point. Like, we have to move beyond shame. Like, shame is going to be like this self-constraint on us. There's an Arthur C. Clarke futurist novel called, I always bring it up, called In the Light of Future Days, where they invent wormhole cameras that can film anything, anytime, all throughout history. Anywhere where there's light, it can record. Half the people start becoming nudists, where they just don't care anymore. They just walk around naked. The other half of the people wear burqas head to toe with the gloves sewn into the sleeves so no light can come in anywhere. You know what I mean? And I think that it's just something interesting.
Yeah, there's a reason why all these space futurists from NASA are obsessed with Islam, by the way. There's definitely there's a reason why that cobblestone comes back up. Well, yeah, I mean, the idea of burqas and things being, the opposition. But so hold on, shame. That's a good one. So Owen Benjamin always talks about special boy and how you tell people they're special boy so they stop trying to be a special boy all the time. And like, yeah, you gotta get married. Stop being such a special boy, and you shame people. He's all about shaming people. And I love Owen. Owen's cool. But at the same time, I mean, everyone's got problems. But the idea that shaming people, do you agree? It sounded like you don't. It sounds like we need to get rid of shame so we can just be ourselves. Is that gonna lead to
where I differ with Owen Benjamin is I don't think there's one conscribed path that's perfect for every human being. I don't think humanity as a whole would benefit from everyone being a homesteader that just pumps out as many kids as they can. I think it's also good to have outliers and freaks and vagabonds and people who, like Tesla, want to marry a pigeon and just work on technology and not bother with that stuff. I think the variety is good. I like having outliers. I like having variety. And like I said, I'm trying to warm myself up to progress more because I'm just realizing we lost the war of conservation and you can't go in reverse. So we're going to get progress. It's a matter of who's steering it.
You got to progress towards having something to conserve.
Yeah. So, I mean, shame, I think we're better off without shame, but that means don't be ashamed. It's not a matter of people finding out your secrets. It's a matter of not doing stuff that you're ashamed of yourself.
I mean, I feel like the kids' drag shows has a lot to do with like shamelessness, like the idea that, and there's other things in the world that matter.
I don't like that. Let me just get on the record that I don't like that.
But I mean, that's the thing. I'm pretty much all about being shameless too, up until I start to think about some of the qualifiers. And then I wonder, I mean, we need to be able to not be shamed into being bad. I think most people
we shouldn't be ashamed of our bodies and our genitals and of people seeing us naked. I don't understand the utility of that at all. I feel that way because I've been raised in society, but
no, because you have a huge penis. That's why. Yeah, that's the only reson why. Guys are small. No, that's the only reason. Because I know Mark is a big penis.
That's a perfect example.
So he's a nudist. No,
that's a perfect example. Like that. That didn't used to exist. I remember when I was growing up, I never thought about penis size and there was no internet porn. And then I remember when the original Godzilla movie came out with Matthew Broderick, the whole advertising for it was bigger is better. And I remember at the same time they had just started the body shaming campaign for women. So for women, they had just started, this was in the 90s, whatever year Godzilla with Matthew Broderick came out. They're saying for women, you can't say anything bad about their body. This was like one of the first emasculation, like takedowns of men. At the same time they're doing that, they had all these huge billboards and bus ads that said bigger is better. And I was like, this is targeted at men. You know what I mean? At the same time, they're saying you can't do this to women. They're purposely doing it to men.
When it happened to me was 6th grade when I had to shower with black dudes. Then I realized how
that's a Howard Stern joke.
Yeah, but it's true though. It's exactly how it happened to me, man.
Right, but the fact that you're alive means that women select for people for other reasons. That's like only one consideration. The point is, like,
size doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. Every girl I've ever dated says it to me very clearly, and they can never lie. So
I think what they're trying to say, even if the size matters a little bit in some circumstances, if you're like Alex Stein, I think it's probably a bigger deal. You know what I mean? They're like,
my point was, though, that is artificial shame. I don't think that is organic shame that people would think of on their own. I think you should be ashamed of sexualizing children, but you shouldn't be ashamed of your body is what I'm saying. I think there's like organic and artificial shame, and it all just gets conflated into, it makes us want to just live in it. It makes you want privacy. It makes you want to live in a windowless house where you can just be a freak inside and do whatever. I think it like encourages bad behavior. And
maybe this is all part of the Maybe this is all part of the plan, said the old man playing chess in the park. I mean, it could have been that you've got extremists that are fighting. Okay, go ahead, Alex, first.
Well, there was a time when I would walk into a stall and somebody would be next to me and I'd be afraid to blast just some major gas, you know, just being there. I used to be nervous, and now I don't have that shame. I sit in there. If I had to go number 2 and the crew of people walk in,
and they say, excuse me, you're like, I'm Alex Stein.
Yeah, I'm just blasting. So yeah, and my poops have never been better. I've never felt more comfortable, you know, walking into a public restroom. So yeah, there's a certain, you know, shame that we need to not have. I agree with you on that.
That is celebrity privilege right there. But okay,
I think shame. Let me say something about shame. It's like everything else. It has a role to be played, but it can be corrupted and it can get out of control. But it's very important. It's like part of your conscience. Like you got to have it. You got to have like something that keeps you in check. But of course, it can be abused and then used to control people. So, like everything else.
I'm more interested in privacy, really. Like I just brought up kind of shame, but I think privacy is really interesting because we're going to have to face it. Like within our lifetime, privacy is going to be a thing. It's going to be impossible. It's not going to be a decision
but we want
that we
privacy
make as a society.
Don't we?
Right, yeah.
We're ashamed.
Well, I don't know. It's antisocial, you know, like the happiest people on earth are like people who live in like the closer your society is and the more interaction you have with people and the more that's normalized, the happier people are. And the more it's normalized for people to isolate, seek resources so that they can get their own private beach, build a house that you can't see into the windows of and all that stuff. People report low happiness in those conditions. Those are like self-medicating people. So
I'm going to say some crazy stuff, but hopefully we know what to do here. My thought is like you need to have a tug of war for there to be a middle ground found. So wherever the middle ground lays, that's whoever pulled strongest to get to a certain point. And you've got extremists saying we need to keep kids ashamed. We need to keep them in Catholic schools and we need to keep them afraid of their bodies and sexuality. That still exists. And you also have people saying we need to have drag teen kid 6-year-old shows. The other extreme, because and what's their excuse if not explanation? Maybe there's other like underlying factors, but the thing that sounds the most positive they're trying to say that we're getting rid of shame. You know, the kids are going to learn how to grow up without shame. There's gonna be no more bullying. They're not going to be afraid with their own bodies. I mean, is there any truth to that? And also, do you think that that's part of the way that we're going to find a balance between Christian fascism and drag in school?
I don't think so, but I mean, can you lose your privacy and retain your shame? I mean, I think that would be the ideal. I want people to feel
a lot of guys in New York sound like that to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want people to still
right. That we all deserve. I mean, obviously we have an illusion of privacy now. We don't actually have privacy, but I think we need to do, I mean, if I was in charge of everything, I would basically make sure that people had a right to privacy, a right to not be spied on inside their homes. And you can say it's about shame and you can say it's bad, all you want. I don't give a shit. Like, people should be able to do whatever the fuck they want in their home and not be shamed. Now, if you're a piece of shit wandering around society doing terrible things to people, that's where shame needs to come in and have a role in keeping you in check.
That's subjective, though. People will tell you masturbating to porn is on the exact same level as like, pedophilia or something. So it becomes a subjective thing again of like.
Well, that's where you got to use your brain and go, is that rational? Right, and if you think it's rational, then good for you. Most people will go, you're stupid.
How do you exile somebody in a world that's so interconnected, right? I mean, like that was the social mechanism in the past. If you're a douchebag and people didn't want you, they just kick you out, get out of this village and never come back. And you got to find a new village and either reinvent your life or repeat history over and over again until somebody gets you, So we're coming to a point where there are no more places where people can go to be exiled unless you just want to be like Kaczynski and live in a shack in the woods.
If they exile you from Twitter, I mean, that's again, see, this is the thing. We're going back to a better kind of punishment if the exile is the punishment from the system itself. It sucks because you don't want to be cut off yourself. But it seems like, could there possibly be a better solution than if somebody says something that hurts people, that they're cut off instead of punished in, I
don't know. It just gets out of control. It becomes, oh, you said something I don't like. And then now you got a mob of dumbasses coming after you because they didn't like what you said. And now you're exiled. And you go, oh, well, that's great. That's great. He said something stupid. I'm happy. And then when you say something stupid, which is inevitably going to happen, now you're the one that's exiled. So I don't know, man. To me, it's all a slippery slope. And we got to just like enshrine free speech. If we're going to have like a couple platforms capture all of human communication, then we need to enshrine free speech on those platforms. And I'm not talking about absence from consequence. I'm talking about people allowed to share their opinions without a fucking billion-dollar corporation or the government coming down on them and punishing them with some sort of punishment, whether it's exile, you can't use our service, which is a service that basically is very important to run businesses these days. Like how most people can't run a business without social media anymore. It doesn't depend. Right. It doesn't matter what fucking exile. Business it is. So how is that? I mean, I don't know, man. For me, it's like if you're for free speech, you always got to go towards letting people talk, no matter how ugly that fucking gets.
Right. Well, clearly, poor arbiters of morality are corporations and government. Basically, what underlies free speech is what is decent. Basically, you don't. I mean, surely you don't want to have to deal with people who are pro pedophilia all the time, and you'd want to exile yourself if the platform you're on, people were coming out like pro pedo all the time. Like you wouldn't want to be privy to that. I wouldn't want to be privy to that. That's why you can block
people. Nobody that's for free speech is saying, well, you shouldn't be able to block me. It's like, no, right. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to follow my fucking page. If it was one thing, if I was forcing myself into all of your little spaces, that's different. That should be a way to block and allow people to do that. And we have those options already.
So you think no algorithm, and we just have the ability to block the people?
I'm fine with the algorithms, but they have to be public, and they have to be very simple in what they do, which is they have to be able to discover good content underneath all of the shit, because that's a beneficial thing as a viewer, as a user, that you can have algorithms go, oh, this content, people watch the whole thing, people click on it at a higher rate. Obviously, all the metrics, which are very simple to do, is like 3 or 4 metrics you need to look at, and then you can source those videos to the larger audience so that people that are actually making good content can be found. But that's all it should be doing, is just sourcing the best performing content.
Well, I mean, and speaking of which, like Alex's girlfriend recently said that the world has no room for anti-Semitism, and just harping on Alex's point earlier, which is cool that she's really trying to. You guys are just, the solidarity between you is really beautiful, and I like that a lot. But I mean, do you think that this idea that the world is trying to suppress freedom of speech through corporations can be? I mean, we always talk about having Rumble and Odyssey and these things. If we're able to pick what we see and what we don't, you can block people. I mean, would that solve everything, or would we just end up radicalizing a bunch of crazy people, get a bunch of people really into communism, into alt-right fascism? Like, what are we gonna do if we have freedom of choice?
Andrew Breitbart said it, though. He called it before he was, unsanctimoniously probably assassinated, that the future of the internet, we'd be in internet ghettos where there'd be, hosters or platforms where, like you said, Rumble, like where we can't talk about it. But that's not the public square. I mean, YouTube, people like it for the chat. People like Twitter because it's the biggest, other than, all the knockoffs. People like Instagram and not the knockoffs of that. So when we get kicked off of those main platforms, yeah, we can go to our internet ghetto and talk to people on Telegram or whatnot. But it's still not the same. It doesn't have the, zeitgeist effect of the collective consciousness of society when you're, in the shadows and the back alleys of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So the freedom of speech doesn't exist. It sucks. And until there's like some sort of internet bill of rights where these corporations are, held to some, they have legal, they have no liability, or I guess they do have liability of what's said on their platform, so that's why they kick people off. I forget what it is.
No,
it's
they don't. They have no liability.
Yeah,
they have no liability.
They have no liability, but they still control it with their own arbitrary rules. So it's like we need the government to say, look, people are allowed to speak freely, and I don't think the government will help us, but there just should be something that.
Oh no, the government's always going to find ways to shut people down, because the people that are in government at that time are only ever interested in keeping the power they have. And that's never going to be an interest in allowing people to talk shit about them. So you just got to keep government as far out of it as possible, because they're never going to enshrine free speech unless you get lucky and get a 1 in a million kind of politician.
What do you think about monopolies?
They're a huge fucking problem. We don't really have capitalism anymore.
So you do need the government involved then, because who else is going to break up monopolies?
Well, when you say governments, does it have to be the federal government, or can state governments take care of this themselves? Locally,
I don't know, of monopolies. I never actually thought about.
Yeah, how's a state government going to break up a international globalist conglomerate?
Well, maybe they don't break it up and they just say
shoot a missile at it.
I'm sure they could figure a way. But okay, like I'm for the federal government only taking care of the military. But if there's an argument there that they also need to take care of antitrust, I'm down with that, because we definitely need to have antitrust, and we need to figure out how to do it. Because right now they're just dropping the ball and everything's being monopolized around us. And then you had the P word, where anybody that wasn't a monopoly corporation wasn't even allowed to function.
I think, unfortunately, like the starting place we're at right now, like dealing with reality, is that we have these huge super states and also supranational bodies like the UN and WHO that set policy. So it's like we got to deal with the hand we're dealt, unfortunately, and that's like these entities exist. So it's like we need to start thinking about what's the smartest way to proceed from where we are right now, which is the censorship is out of control and the moral arbiters have no morals. They're all corporations and governments. So, I mean, this is where we're starting. It would be nice to have an ideal, clean slate.
Right. I've got one more I want to cover before, and if you guys have anything else you want to cover as well before we close up, but the Egyptians call for the return of the Rosetta Stone and other artifacts. This happened earlier today. There's been a bunch of arguments in Egypt. There's a new government again, that because every 6 years or so they have to replace the government when it starts to realize what they did with the last one. It's like a bad soap opera. But thousands of Egyptians are demanding the repatriation of the Rosetta Stone, amongst other things, right? Because it's literally this pirate, like it's like if you go over to a drug dealer's house and they have a bunch of stereos and cardboard boxes. That's what England feels like when you go to a museum. They just stole a bunch of stuff. But latest campaign to reclaim the iniquities have gathered more than 2,500 signatures. It might be time. It might be happening. And so I wonder, what do you guys think about this? Part of the reason why Britain held on to it was because they said, well, your governments are never stable enough to hold on to something this old, and we've been around, so we'll keep it safer. What do you think about the returning of the Hobby Lobby properties?
Give it all back. It's none of us in reparations. I want reparations too. I just we need to give it all back to the rightful owner. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
it's true though. I mean, if you look what happened in Iraq, they had ISIS going around smashing up the oldest sculptures on Earth, like the Mesopotamian bulls and stuff like that. So the Smithsonian is totally correct when they say that you don't have the organizational level to be able to protect these, antiquities, but by the same token, it's like they are pirates. It's like to the victor goes the spoils. They're like, you're asking us to be nice and give it back to you. But like, really, we could just wipe your country off the map right now if you piss us off enough. So it's
again,
how important is this to you? Really, it's kind of a strange situation. Yeah, man. I mean, the people that have the power have the power. Listen, there are no rules. You know what I mean? There are no rules. There are no rights. Might is right. That's the world that we're born into. That's nature. That's the law of the jungle. That's the starting place we got to deal with. Assuming that people are going to act morally by your own subjective standards is a setup for gamma behavior, as Owen Benjamin would say. You're the special boy. You're the secret king. You should have been the winner. You should have had the Rosetta Stone. I should have the Rosetta Stone. That thing looks dope. I should have that right here.
That is the thing. It is.
I want it.
Like a useful.
I'm going to write them a letter. I want it. I'm half Jewish. Give it to me.
It is like a super useful thing because it covers.
The people suffered. Give me the Rosetta Stone.
This is the beginning of like different language. There's 6 different languages on the thing, right? 4 to 6 different languages that help us unlock actual history. And so the few people that have access to it are able to really know what the old manuscript said, and everyone else has to kind of guess at it. I mean, this is the unlocking piece to the ancient history. And so whoever has that might have some more say in the future. Do you think it's that important, or is it just a relic?
Both. I mean, we started off talking about how important is history. It's important to the powers that be to erase history. So obviously it has some value. Somebody in the chat says, God sets the rules and you disobey them at your own peril. What do you guys think about that? Because like the rules to me is like what goes up must comes down. Like I can't fly. I can't breathe underwater. But like I can certainly conquer other nations and do stuff like that. So what do you guys think about that? I always think that's so interesting that people
which God are we talking about? You know
what
I mean?
Exactly.
They tend to argue over the same one, right? It's like Abraham's God is, the Muslims, the Jews, Christians, all.
Yeah, but the Old Testament is a much different situation than the New Testament. Right. So I guess it depends. Are you Christian? Are you Jewish? Are you Islamic? Or are you Hindu?
What are the actual rules?
Oh, we had a great super chat from Alex Stein for $2. For Alex Stein, says, "Great show, Alex. Like always, you were the prettiest."
Flashing those big bucks, Alex. I see. I see what you're doing over there.
That second cat was the prettiest. I like that second cat. I didn't get a chance to mention it, but was that a British short hair?
I don't know. I think he's just. They're just strays that I just find and I just keep. I think they're my neighbor's cats at this point, but I rehome them, you know. The pretty ones I keep, the bad ones I just throw back out. No, I'm kidding. I'm a cat nut. I toxoplasmosis, a parasite in their fecal matter that infects your brain that turns you into a crazy cat lady, which is real. And if you have a cat, you probably have toxoplasmosis.
Were you tested for that, or you just know you have it?
I just know that I have it because I sleep with a cat every day, and and I treat it and I give it more affection than any girl that I'm currently dating. So
it's good to be able to be self-aware, I think. But guys, it's been a good one. If there's anything else you want to cover, or I can start to push around, I'm going to show you Alex Stein's YouTube. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. He's little now, but he's up and coming. No, I mean, you guys really should already be subscribed to Alex Stein. And also make sure you're on his Twitter as well, because this is wild. I love his Twitter. Actually, if for some reason you're like a fool and you're not subscribed to Alex Stein, you know, then you can go to my Discord. Let me see what I can find in the Discord here.
Alex, I know you said you were going to do the Mickey Mouse thing, but have you ever considered doing Ronnie the Rat at a Chuck E. Cheese?
I know. That's what I got to do. I got to go to Chuck E. Cheese. See, that's brilliant. I mentioned Chuck E. Cheese in my speech. Maybe I should go to Chuck E. Cheese and eat. That could be funny tomorrow. Okay, now I'm
next and be like,
you got to bring a kid with you to get in.
No, you don't. You can't just go to Chuck E. Cheese. Is that true?
Yeah, you have to bring a kid to get in. No,
wait, really?
You have to look it up, bro. You can't go in without a kid. So just grab one off the street and.
Wait, no. I believe that you're not making that up. But that's
true.
Really the
How
policy.
can I make that up?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you are, but that's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird rule because, like, what if you're visiting like a family for it? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of.
I guess they have to come to the door and vouch for you. I get why you wouldn't want a freak. I'm saying I get why you wouldn't want some random freak eating there for lunch. Like, I actually kind of like the rule, but at the same time, it seems like a hard rule to enforce because you're right.
I don't know. I mean,
I used to go to Disneyland and just eat lunch on the grass, like into my late 20s. You know, there was a certain point where I had a mustache.
But Six Flags is trying to open. They're trying to raise the price of the season pass because so many kids has become a daycare center, and where that guy bought the unlimited food pass and ate there every day. So a lot of people do that.
Yeah,
where they get the season pass and then they get one lunch every couple of hours at the theme park. So they go there for lunch. Yeah,
bring your laptop to an all-you-can-eat buffet. Sit there, get there early in the morning, and then by the lunchtime, seriously, just do it. I mean, you can do that.
I'm gonna do a live stream. That's what I'm gonna do. I might do a live stream at a buffet and just be at one for 5 hours.
I'll meet you at another. We'll swap cast. I'll go to a buffet some other state, and then we'll
see how long we can do it. That would be brilliant. Well,
all right, guys. Also, my family thinks I'm crazy. I'm gonna go to your website, Mark. You can check it. Oh, and there's a super chat from Brittany. Thank you for this epic panel. Primetime Alex Stein 99 should come back again soon. I agree.
I will.
Yeah, dude, sure. I love you. And dude, I think I'm gonna be. It's getting cold, so I'm thinking about going just to visit Texas. So if you're around in December or something like that, you know,
let's go. Let's go.
Let's get leashes and take cats through Dallas. That's the way to do it. I think
I'm down.
Yeah. All right, my dear friend Mark. Wait, this is the wrong window. Dang it.
Did Mark just leave the show right before he gets the plug? He leaves.
He's just Mark, what are you doing?
Why'd you take me out, dude? I'm trying to plug my shit. I'm being censored by Andreas over here.
I think you did that to yourself, but that's okay. I brought you back. My family thinks I'm crazy. Alt Media United, a podcast cooperative, the YouTube channel. Make sure you listen to the most recent episode was the one on Detroit with Chad Stemke.
No, well, yeah, but the most recent episode, go listen to my appearance on Tinfoil Hat, which is not on YouTube, but yeah, I was on Tinfoil Hat this Monday, so that was my most recent thing, and I had Rob Dew on. I haven't been posting everything to YouTube lately, but we'll have more stuff.
We got to get Rob Dew back on this show too, man.
Yeah, I just talked to him yesterday. He was busy this week. We're going to set something up for next week or the week after. So for sure, we'll get Rob back on. But make sure you're subscribed to My Family Thinks I'm Crazy. I can't wait to get the Rob Dew episode up on here and listen to that. That's going to be really sweet. And then BBDC, you know him, you love him. You can pre-order Pushing Poison right now, but you can actually
it's out.
It. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I just
order
need to update my link tree.
You can order it, and it's super awesome. I mean, like I don't want to
play it on YouTube. Your whole show is going to get taken down. It's an anti-Jibby Jab song from the perspective of the Jibby Jab producers. It's got some good features on it, and it debuted at number 4 on iTunes. And somehow I'm still on the internet, so please go and support before they completely erased all history of me. And I'm like Tartaria.
Now that what's his name, Jim Brewer did his special. You know what I mean? Have you seen this one yet? So
come on, you don't even know how to spell Brewer's last name,
bro. I'm not into that kind of thing. I like to read books, but he did do this thing where
yeah, I like the way he spelled it. I mean, phonetically, that's right, but
I'm not good at spelling. I like to read books. How do
you use
read,
W's, whatever.
All right. Andreas said when he got a Playboy magazine, he read it. He didn't just look at the naked picture.
I was really into it, but then I got to hear about Paul McCartney on acid, and I got to read Robert Anton Wilson. It was worth it. But okay,
great Nixon interview.
Jim Brewer did the trust the science, and it's on Netflix and everything else, on YouTube at least, I think. So YouTube special, Brewer talking about this. He's on the right side of history for that one, just off the cuff. But then Ping Trip, make sure that you've liked, subscribed, and clicked on the bell. You want to get that bell so you can watch all the Ping Trip videos you ever need.
Definitely get the bell.
Hit the
bell.
You got to hit the bell. If you don't hit the bell, you won't be able to make sure every time he has a video that they let you know.
I'll disappear. I will no longer exist because subscribing apparently doesn't make a difference anymore. It's just all about the bell.
Dude, seriously.
It really doesn't. No, I mean, it's funny how it works like that. How, if you're not a corporation, basically, you don't even get your content out to your own subscribers.
That's what it is, man. And you can even see Susan talking about like borderline violative content. I'm pretty sure that's what they did to me. I'm borderline violative content. Which is like, what does that even mean? You're either violating the fucking content or you're not. This just means another way for us to shut fucking independent people down. But thank you for having me on, Andreas, dude. I had a blast. And Alex, it was awesome to meet you. Hit me up sometime on Twitter or something, man. I'd love to collaborate.
Oh, for sure. I did. I want to 1,000%. Here, I'm hitting you up right now.
Yeah,
brutal, dude.
Hilarious, dude. It's an honor.
Dude, I can only imagine the videos that could come out of that. But guys, thanks a lot for being here. We'll see you next time. And, follow your dreams. Yeah, follow your dreams. Peace.
Hey.